Manisha, you were about 2 to 3 weeks pregnant when this started, and at 5 weeks it really kicked in. And your description, because many women suffer from morning sickness, but your description of this type of severe morning sickness sums it up perfectly, I think.
Yeah, so I went from sort of feeling fine, and then I was being sick sort of at the beginning about 40 to 50 times a day. At its worst, It was about 90 times a day, and it was just, and I think the worst thing about it was constant nausea.
Yeah.
So you sort of, normally you feel nauseous, you're sick, you feel fine.
Well, you summed it up. You said it's like having food poisoning, norovirus, and the worst hangover of your life all at the same time, constantly.
Yeah, constantly for 9 months. So that is something that you can't imagine what it feels like until it happens.
And you can't function. I mean, you'd given up work just before your pregnancy anyway, but you were hoping to go back and do freelance, or something that you actually couldn't do. So although you're worrying about the baby and your health, but also financially, you couldn't work.
I was, quite apart from anything else, you're physically incapacitated. You're sort of mentally, you feel really down, and then you're worrying, and there's this constant guilt. You're thinking, I should be out, I should be working, I should be doing stuff, but actually you can't. And not only are you worried about the baby, but you're worried about yourself and about your future. And it's just, there's all sorts of things going on in your head, and you're confined to a bed, so you've got 17 hours a day thinking about it.
Well, this is going to be the subject, or part of the subject of our phone-in today. If you're watching at home and you're pregnant, or you just had a baby, or you're thinking about it, we'll give you the details in just a moment. And for you, has it altered your position on the timing for another baby?
I think I would. I know I was incredibly lucky to be pregnant, and I adore my son, but it absolutely has made me more cautious about going back into pregnancy too quickly. And I have nothing but extreme admiration for the Duchess for having 3 children in 4 years. I think I would like to have another child, but I need to be physically ready for it.
Well, you lost 2 stone. I mean, most people put on weight during pregnancy, and by the time you went into labour,
put it back on now, mind.
2 stone lighter.
And I think one of the brilliant things that the Duchess has done has shone a light on it, as you say, and made people aware of it.
So it's very rare.
It is. I mean, less than 1% of pregnant women get hyperemesis gravidarum, but almost all pregnant women, well, so 80 to 90%, get morning sickness. And we know that it doesn't always last just during the morning. It can last all day. So I think there's a really important distinction to make. There's no definition of hyperemesis, but there's an important distinction to make between what's normal in pregnancy and when it's abnormal, and it's actually quite risky, because you can feel as sick as Manisha did and be as sick as Manisha was, and also get quite dehydrated.
Well, there are a lot of people
weight.
who would say, well, the Duchess is very lucky. She has a team of doctors around her, and no matter who you are, there's only so much you can do.
So women who suffer before seeking help, because there is help available. You can have medication for it, or if you're dehydrated, you can go into hospital for treatment.
Why do some women get no morning sickness? Some women get morning sickness that you'd consider normal, and some women end up like Manisha.
That's a really good question. And it used to be said that, oh, it's all sort of psychological factors as well, or it's because you're more sick if you have a girl, or whatever. It's absolute rubbish. But it does run in families, as Manisha hinted. There is a genetic element, and there's also new research that shows that the nerves, the involuntary nerves that control the stomach and gut emptying, are probably slightly different in women who get hyperemesis.
Wow.
So it follows that if you've got it once, you probably will get it again in the next pregnancy. But at least you know what you're in for.
And for you, the euphoria of birth was tenfold, because as soon as your son was born, it went away.
It went away, and I say this to people, traditionally having a newborn baby, as I'm sure you know, is hard work, and people find it, it can be difficult. I found it a walk in the park compared to this. I found having the first 3 months of having a newborn were absolutely much easier than being pregnant, because as I say, as lucky as I was to be pregnant, hyperemesis is the worst thing that's happened to me physically ever.
Thank you for talking about it today.